Hello everyone. Welcome to Sam's Summaries. This episode is a deep dive discussion into Sam Fury's summary of the book, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. It has been created with the help of AI. You can read the original summary at samfury.com.
All right, so today we are going deep into Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it is. And I think before people get the wrong idea, we're not just talking about like how to pick up people at a bar.
Right.
We're talking about like the broader psychology of persuasion, like how to make someone want what you want, you know?
Yeah. And Greene kind of lays out this like almost step-by-step playbook of tactics that have been used throughout history to influence people.
And I think what's so interesting and maybe a little unnerving is how relevant it is to everyday life.
Totally.
You know, it's not just for master manipulators or something.
Right.
He actually argues that we all have this dominant seductive type, which is kind of like this archetype that we embody when we're trying to, you know, win someone over.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be like win someone over in a bad way necessarily.
Yeah, not manipulative.
It's sort of like how we naturally
draw people in.
Yeah, draw people in and play on those power dynamics that are always at work.
Yeah, I mean, so give us an example. What is one of these?
Oh, okay. Well, like one of the most classic archetypes is what he calls the siren.
Oh, the siren.
And this is all about allure and mystery.
Oh, okay.
You know, so think Cleopatra.
Ah.
And it's interesting because you can see how that plays out, not just in romantic situations, but in leadership or even marketing.
Yeah, it's creating that sense of mystique and like, ooh, what is this?
Exactly. Makes you want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say marketing because I was just reading about how limited edition products and stuff, they almost play into that, right?
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
By creating scarcity.
Absolutely.
They instantly become more desirable.
It's like this deep-seated psychological principle. We tend to value things that seem rare or difficult to obtain.
Yeah, and he calls that giving them space to fall or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like creating that sense of longing and making the other person pursue you.
Yeah.
Which can be very effective.
Yeah. So it's amazing how these almost subtle tactics can be so effective.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what about the types who are less about allure and mystery and more about catering to someone's desires?
Yeah. So you're talking about what he calls the ideal lover.
The ideal lover. Okay.
Yeah, and so this is the archetype that's all about becoming a reflection of what the other person wants most.
So figuring out what they want.
Yeah. Imagine a tailor-made suit or a personalized marketing campaign.
Right, you're understanding them on such a deep level.
Exactly. So it's not about creating a sense of mystery or scarcity.
Right.
It's more about creating a sense of, oh, you're perfect for me.
Yeah, like we're totally aligned.
Yeah, you're exactly what I need.
Like you were, made for me.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be super persuasive.
Yeah. And it really speaks to this idea of no matter what you're doing, whether you're trying to seduce a romantic partner, a client, a voter, whatever.
Understand your audience.
It's all about understanding your audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the siren, the ideal lover. What are some of the other types that he outlines?
Yeah.
And how do they kind of play out in the real world?
All right. Well, there's the rake, for example.
The rake.
Yeah, this is like the one who just exudes confidence and uncontainable desire. You know, figures like Casanova.
Okay.
You know, that kind of irresistible bad boy image that can be very seductive.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that image still has so much sway, even beyond romantic contexts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about all those marketing campaigns that are like edgy and about rebellion. They're tapping into that same energy.
Totally. Absolutely. It's challenging conventions and appealing to a sense of adventure. And then you have the dandy, which is a really penetrating one. Yeah. This is, you know, think like David Bowie.
Okay.
Someone who's constantly reinventing themselves.
Okay.
Defying categorization.
So they're kind of the ultimate chameleon then.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like they adapt to their surroundings and kind of play with people's perceptions.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so seductive.
Exactly. It's their ambiguity and unconventionality that kind of draw you in.
Yeah.
They keep you guessing.
Yeah.
You're constantly trying to decipher what's their true nature.
What are they all about?
Yeah. And this actually ties in really well with what Greene calls like the seduction process.
Okay, so let's get into that process.
Yeah, so it's like his step-by-step guide to,
to winning someone over.
Yeah, winning someone over.
All right.
And there are a lot of stages, some more maybe ethically ambiguous.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Others.
I was going to say, some of this stuff is a
little intense.
Yeah.
So one of the early stages he talks about is stirring up anxiety and discontent in the other person.
Okay, now before anyone listening gets the wrong idea, this doesn't mean making someone feel bad just for the sake of it.
Exactly.
It's more about understanding, like, what are their vulnerabilities?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And unmet desires.
It's all about understanding those.
Okay.
And maybe even highlighting a problem that you can then position yourself.
Right, that you can solve.
To solve.
Yeah. I mean, you see this all the time in advertising.
Well, all the time.
Where it's like, they create this sense of insecurity, like, oh, maybe about your appearance.
Totally, yeah.
And your social status, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but don't worry, our product can fix all that.
We gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's almost like they're creating the problem and then presenting themselves as the solution.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess the question there is like, how ethical is that?
Right. Well, I think, like you said earlier, Greene's book is about understanding the tools.
Yeah.
Right. It's up to us to use them responsibly.
Right.
But, to answer your question.
Yeah, I think it can be ethical if you're genuinely offering something that will benefit the other person.
Yeah, if it's just straight up manipulation.
Right, if it's just about you,
yeah,
then that's a different story.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've created this sense of need, maybe a little anxiety.
Okay, so this is where he talks about the importance of insinuation.
Insinuate.
Outright persuasion.
So instead of like making bold declarations, you're planting seeds.
Yes.
Letting the ideas take root.
Exactly. Yeah, and he believes that mastering what he calls the demonic power of words is like...
Okay, now this is a little intense.
But think about it. Words really do have the power to evoke emotions, to paint pictures in our minds. A skilled speaker can make you cry, can inspire you to action.
Yeah.
All through their words.
Right. It's not just what you say. It's how you say it.
Exactly.
The tone, the cadence.
Yes.
The emotion behind it.
Yeah.
It's almost like casting a spell in a way.
Right. And that reminds me of the famous Winston Churchill quote.
Okay.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds.
Yeah.
That repetition, that powerful imagery, it literally stirred a nation to action.
It's amazing how language can have that effect.
Powerful stuff.
So you're insinuating, you're painting pictures like what's next?
All right, so then you got to bring in the flattery.
Okay, the flattery.
Yeah, because a well-placed compliment can be incredibly disarming, especially when it feels genuine. And it doesn't have to be about physical appearance or achievements, It could be about recognizing someone's unique talents, their passions, even their struggles.
Okay, you're basically acknowledging them, making them feel seen and understood.
Yeah.
Which then, I guess makes them more receptive to your suggestions.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be effective, but I also feel like that's a slippery slope.
Totally. Yeah.
When does flattery become manipulation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key, right? It's all about being genuine.
Right.
If you're just showering someone with empty compliments to get what you want, it's going to backfire.
Right.
But if you're recognizing their strengths authentically, that can actually build a genuine connection and make your influence more effective.
Yeah. So it's like finding that balance between acknowledging their worth, but also subtly steering them in the direction you want them to go.
Exactly.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've stirred up the anxiety. We've subtly suggested solutions. We've buttered them up with the flattery.
Yeah.
What happens next in this seduction process?
Well, now he introduces this concept of entering their spirit.
Entering their spirit. Okay.
Yeah, and it's basically about subtly mirroring the other person.
Okay.
Their tastes, their moods, even their mannerisms.
So you're not just like flattering them.
Right.
You're creating this deep connection.
Yeah, like you're on the same wavelength. You're basically lowering their defenses by kind of like reflecting back their own self-image.
So, when you meet someone.
Yeah.
And you just instantly click.
Yeah.
It's like you're looking in a mirror.
Exactly.
You just get each other.
Yeah.
And you have the same values, the same humor.
Yeah, it just feels effortless.
Yeah.
So obviously, once those defenses are down,
right,
it becomes a lot easier to
guide them. Yeah.
To guide them. Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is where Greene talks about the importance of creating temptation.
Okay, so creating temptation, but it's not overt.
It's more about like subtly tantalizing them with their deepest desires.
So you're not giving them what they want.
Right.
You're just offering glimpses.
Yes.
Possibility.
You're building anticipation.
Building anticipation, yeah. It's like how Apple launches a new product.
A perfect example.
They don't just reveal everything at once. They do all these teasers, cryptic messages. By the time the product comes out, you're just dying to have it.
Yeah.
It's like they're orchestrating this like elaborate dance.
Yeah, it's like a slow burn.
The next stage, he talks about maintaining an air of unpredictability.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I love that.
Yeah, it's so important.
Because it's like a good dancer.
Yeah.
They keep you guessing with their moves.
Totally.
They do the slow, graceful movements and then sudden bursts of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that surprise.
That keeps you captivated.
Okay, keeps you captivated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to just like
right.
be alluring.
Right. You got to keep them on their toes. Yeah, and it's funny because that applies not just to romantic situations, but like
totally.
Negotiations.
Yeah, giving a presentation.
Everyday conversations.
Yeah, like nobody wants to listen to someone who's boring and predictable.
No, exactly. And this kind of ties into his whole emphasis on paying attention to detail.
Yes, because seduction is about engaging all the senses.
Right. It's not a one-dimensional thing.
It's about creating a captivating experience. Yes. Yeah. So whether that's a romantic dinner with soft lighting and amazing food or a business presentation with stunning visuals and a compelling narrative.
You're crafting this multi-sensory experience.
Exactly.
And I feel like this is where his
concept of like poeticizing your presence comes in.
Yes.
You think about how a poet uses language to evoke emotions, create imagery.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing that with your whole being, your appearance, your demeanor.
Your action. Like you're crafting an experience that is both alluring and memorable.
So it's about being deliberate, intentional, choosing your words carefully, creating the right ambiance. It's almost like you're directing a play.
Yes.
And you're the lead actor.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
But how do you balance that with authenticity?
Right.
How do you not come across as contrived?
Well, that's where he talks about this idea of strategic vulnerability, which it might seem counterintuitive.
Yeah, because I thought this whole thing was about confidence and power.
But when someone shares a personal story or admits a weakness, it makes them seem more human.
More relatable.
More relatable.
Yeah.
It breaks down those walls that we often put up.
Right.
And it creates a sense of genuine connection.
You're saying, hey, I'm not perfect, but that's okay. And that can be really disarming. Think about a leader who admits a mistake or asks for help.
Yeah.
It doesn't diminish their authority.
No, it actually enhances it.
It enhances it.
Because it shows that they're not afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah, to be human, which is really, I guess, the most seductive thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, this is all so fascinating.
Yeah.
So how do we seal the deal?
All right, so this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of confusing desire and reality.
Okay.
So basically, creating a kind of heightened experience that fulfills the other person's fantasies.
So you're kind of blurring the lines between...
Yeah, what's real and what's imagined.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Think about a stage magician who creates the illusion of levitation, or a filmmaker who transports you to another world.
Right.
They're creating this believable but heightened reality that captivates your senses.
Okay. And is this where letting the victim comes in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not about physical isolation necessarily. It's more about subtly separating the other person from their usual sources of like advice and support.
So you're creating a space where your influence is the strongest.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, think about how cults operate.
Yeah.
They often isolate their members from their family and friends to create this closed system.
So it's almost creating an echo chamber.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where your ideas are constantly being reinforced.
Reinforced, yeah.
Good.
And then once you've established that isolation, it's important to prove yourself.
Prove yourself.
Yeah. So this is where you're like demonstrating your worth through selfless acts.
Okay.
Calculated risks.
So showing that you're not all talk.
You're willing to walk the walk.
You're there for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And reliable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do we go from there? This is so many layers.
I know, right? And it's important to remember that this is just one framework.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
This isn't a step-by-step recipe. But one of the final stages he talks about is affecting a regression.
A regression.
Yeah. And I know that sounds a little strange.
Yeah. What does that even mean?
But it's basically about tapping into the other person's desire for comfort and security.
Right.
Think about how a parent soothes a child.
Okay.
Or how a therapist provides a safe space for their clients.
So you're becoming a source of comfort and reassurance.
Yeah. Almost like a surrogate parent.
A trusted advisor.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And this can be incredibly powerful, especially when combined with his next suggestion, which is stirring up the transgressive and taboo.
Okay, now we're getting into it.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So this is about subtly tapping into the other person's desire to kind of break the rules, to explore the forbidden.
So the allure of the forbidden.
Yes, exactly.
Like secret society.
Yeah, or the forbidden romance.
Right. It's that sense of danger and excitement
that makes it so seductive.
And it's about creating this shared experience that feels exclusive, transgressive, maybe even a little dangerous.
And so that shared experience then creates
this like powerful bond. Yeah. This sense of complicity. Yeah. That deepens the connection.
Okay, so this whole seduction process is like this carefully choreographed dance.
It is.
This delicate balance of push and pull. So the last things that Greene emphasizes is using spiritual lures. This is about tapping into something deeper than just physical desire.
Okay.
It's about evoking a sense of the sublime of something greater than ourselves.
Okay.
Think about the power of a religious experience. Right. Or a profound connection with nature.
So you're creating this sense of transcendence.
Transcendence, yeah.
Like a spiritual awakening almost?
Exactly.
Okay.
And this can be incredibly powerful, especially when combined with sensual elements.
So like the way that music can transport you.
Yes.
Or a beautiful piece of art, it evokes this like emotional response.
Yeah, it's about engaging the soul.
As well as the senses.
This is all so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's really fascinating stuff.
We've covered so much ground, from understanding our own seductive type to navigating these intricate steps of this process. Yeah. But before we wrap up, I have to ask, is this all just a game?
Right.
Like, is there any genuine connection in all of this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it's up to each individual to decide how they use these techniques. You know, the key is to be aware of the power dynamics and to always like act with integrity and respect.
Right. Like, don't be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on the art of seduction, what's like the one thing you want our listeners to take away?
I think the most important thing is to be aware, to recognize these tactics when they're being used on you, and to understand the psychology behind them. Right. You know, knowledge is power. Yeah. And by understanding this stuff, we can all become more discerning, more conscious,
more in control.
And ultimately more in control of our own lives.
I love that. This has been an amazing
this was a good one.
Journey into like world of persuasion.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that the art of seduction in all its forms is something we encounter every day.
Every day.
So keep your eyes open and your wits about you.
Stay sharp.
Thanks for tuning in to Sam's Summaries. If you found this episode useful, let us know with a like, follow, and share. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to visit samfury.com to get free access to all of Sam's original summaries. You can also get any of Sam's books and other exclusive content. It's all completely free at samfury.com.